Remember Jesse Diggins, Ben Ogden, Norway's Klæbo, those amazing cross-country skiers we got to enjoy at the Olympics in Italy? Well, they're all coming here to the Adirondacks this weekend. It's the first time ever the world's best cross-country skiers will finish their season on U.S. soil, here in Lake Placid. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Pearsall Wealth Management at UBS Wealth Management USA, subsidiary UBS AG, member FINRA SIPC, 1 Broad Street, Glens Falls.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Thursday, March 19th. First up, voters in Saranac Lake elected their first female mayor in yesterday's election. Kelly Brunette, a Democrat, defeated incumbent Mayor Jimmy Williams, who was running on the Republican line. Brunette won by a 24-point margin. One key issue in the mayoral race was a $30 million emergency services building proposed for the village. Williams supported the project, while Brunette wanted to put it up to a public vote. According to the Adirondack Daily Enterprise, yesterday's election had the highest turnout in many years, with more than 1,200 votes cast. It was a sweep for Democrats, who also won 2 seats on the Village Board of Trustees. Jeremy Evans and David Trudeau earned more than double the votes of the Republican and independent candidates running for the board. Jimmy Williams' last day in office as mayor is April 6th. A teacher at the Salmon River School District is charged with endangering the welfare of a student. State police say they were notified last November of an incident involving a student and 60-year-old Carrie Haverstock of Brushton. After an investigation, troopers alleged that Haverstock had mistreated the student the previous May. No further details about the incident were given. The Malone Telegram reports Haverstock was put on administrative leave last December when the school was responding to disclosures that educators had placed children in wooden boxes as a disciplinary measure. It's unclear if these latest charges are related to the so-called timeout boxes. Haverstock's arrest comes as the district is facing outrage from many of the school's parents, who say they've lost trust in its leadership. Police say Haverstock was processed in Franklin County Court in Malone and released. A court date has yet to be scheduled. Lake Placid is hosting the World Cup Finals for cross-country skiing this weekend. In addition to 3 days of racing, there'll be special events for kids and opportunities to meet American skiers like Jesse Diggins and Ben Ogden, both of whom won medals at the recent Olympics in Italy. Emily Russell was at the Mount Van Hoevenberg Sports Complex earlier this week to preview the event. She spoke with Chris Cheney-Seymour from the Olympic Regional Development Authority.
So I want to start with snow. We've had some really warm days here recently, up to like 55 degrees or so. I was watching the snow melt here, in Lake Placid and Saranac Lake in recent weeks. It's back to winter now outside. It's snowing out here. But what's gone into making sure that the trails are ready for this World Cup Finals?
It all comes down to snow production. And so for us, we began as soon as the temperatures allowed in late November, early December, just started making as much snow as possible. And so within the stadium and on the course, when we were complete with snowmaking, had somewhere between 4 to 6 feet of produced snow that was on the 5-kilometer network and in the stadium. In addition to that, we had snow storage piles that were created that then were deployed right before the event. So in like the athlete warm-up and test areas, and to just having a large pile of snow that's sort of on the edge that we could move and transport to fill in any spots, any places where there'd been a melt. And so we in the last week have really needed to do quite a bit of work with that. And so the transport of snow and the regrooming and building has been quite active in the last 10 days with the less than seasonably nice weather for snow.
For folks who don't ski, don't watch skiing, aren't big cross-country ski fans, what's the pitch for them to come out and see one of the races happening this weekend?
So, outside of the races, they're going to have an absolute blast. From music to flyovers to polka bands to food to interesting expo areas with different companies that are showing what they do and sharing interesting things. It's just going to be a good time. Around that, you're going to have the best cross-country skiers in the world. And I think that for a lot of people, it's hard to, on a television or if they haven't seen it, actually fathom how quickly they move on snow and how competitive and shoulder-to-shoulder the racing is. And so Saturday, an example, which is sprint racing. It's on a short course. It's a little over a kilometer. There will be 10,000 people packed into a stadium, screaming and yelling for these people who are going round after round against each other. And again, it is racing that is very close. There are strategic moves. People are getting cut off. It's quite exciting to watch, and you don't need to know anything about cross-country skiing to enjoy it. And I think the other thing is going to be the crowds, the cheering, the excitement, the energy, and the vibe. Just because how sort of intimate the trail system and the stadium is at Mount Van Hoevenberg is, there's going to be 10,000 people here, but it's going to feel like 100,000, and it will be loud and exciting and fun, and it's going to be a great show.
So Jessie Diggins is the most decorated American cross-country skier, and this is going to be her last race as a professional cross-country skier here in Lake Placid. I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about her legacy and how she's changed the sport and just how the sport has changed in America, since she started skiing.
Yeah. What is phenomenal in Jessie's career is that she and Keegan Randall, who when they won the first gold medals for U.S. cross-country skiing together in the team sprint in the Olympics, I think it really changed the mindset and it made people believe. And there's been sort of since then this watershed that really in a lot of ways the coaches and that community within U.S. skiing, the clubs of this country have really gotten behind one vision. And that one vision is not just excellence in performance, but it's also excellence in a community and supporting each other and working together. And Jessie has for sure been the role model of all of that.
This is the first time World Cup finals for cross-country skiing is on American soil. Do you think that this is the start of a, kind of rebirth or bringing more races like this to the U.S. and maybe even to Lake Placid?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, World Cup finals coming to Lake Placid has been many years in the making. And I think that for this being cemented really happened when there was a World Cup hosted in Minnesota. And so Jessie very much was pushing bringing the World Cup to the United States in Minnesota a few years ago. When the crowds and the turnout happened, I think it really got the attention of the European federations. FIS was quite curious and what is possible in the U.S. And at that same point, after the revitalization of the venues within the ORDA portfolio, FIS was quite interested in coming back to the States and coming to Lake Placid.
And FIS is the International Ski Federation.
Yes. And so I think what has been happening, though, in this conversation from Minneapolis to here is the conversation is already beginning with FIS on how can they come back to the U.S. more. And what they're seeing is the energy, the activation, the positivity that comes, the crowds arrive, and the athlete experience is viewed as and is significantly positive. So there's a desire to come back more and more. And so, the conversation for here in Lake Placid is when's the next one? So hopefully it'll all be back in just a couple of years.
That was Chris Cheney Seymour from the Olympic Regional Development Authority speaking with Emily Russell. The races for the World Cup finals are from tomorrow through Sunday. We have more news at ncpr.org. Music today by I Am Snow Angel and Caitlin Scholl, both of Lake Placid. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.